A very warm welcome to Civilspedia, Current Affairs Digital Library. Today we are going to see 16th June 2018 Current Affairs. In prelims topics, we are going to see India's water crisis, UN report on Kashmir, then Central Adoption Resource Authority, CARA. The last topic in prelims will be Animal Welfare Board of India. In editorial mains topics, we will be seeing the changing nature of violence, then decongesting our cities. The first news is India's water crisis. See, this news came into the picture because Niti Aayog report actually says India is facing one of the worst water crises in the history. Okay, how they found this is there was a composite water management index. Okay, this index actually gave the insights towards the overall water level or water availability in the India. This index actually comprises of 9 broad sectors comprising 28 different indicators. Okay, this index actually divided the states into 2 groups. One is non-Himalayan states and another one is Himalayan states and northeastern states. Okay, so what was the observations on this basis of this index is there was an unsustainable depletion of the groundwater. Okay, this is the main thing. In fact, there is a 70% of the groundwater is contaminated. This is another important finding. Okay, and one of the important thing is the demand of the potable water actually exceeds the supply of the water by the 2030. Okay, this shows there will be a huge resource crunch in the water availability. Okay, and even right now, people around 2 lakh people are dying because of there is a inaccessibility for the safe water, and around 600 million people are affected. So this shows we have a huge cost in the health also. That is the indirect effect. Okay. See, apart from this, there are 21 cities which is going to run out of the groundwater by 2020 itself. And these cities are big cities like Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bengaluru. Okay. So 2020 is not far away. It is only 2 years pending. So, if the current depletion goes on, even the 2030 is going to happen, the scenario is going to happen, and 2020 scenario is going to happen. And around 60% of the total states are low performers. Okay, this index is actually they calculated like indicators like the policies or restoration of the lakes, water bodies. So, this performance actually poor in the around 60% of the states. This shows the lackness behind the state governments. So the best performance in this index is Gujarat, then Andhra Pradesh, even Madhya Pradesh. Okay, and the worst performance, see these are under non-Himalayan states. Okay, in the worst performers in the non-Himalayan states, Bihar is there and Haryana is also there. Okay, and if you see in the recent news, you could have seen the Himachal Pradesh is facing one of the worst water crisis in the history. Okay, so obviously this is actually the leading worst performer in the northeastern states and Himalayan states category. Okay, so Himachal Pradesh is the worst performer in the northeastern and the Himalayan categories. Okay, the next one is the water crisis. You can see the report. Okay, see if you see this map perfectly, the India water crisis, we don't have data for the Jammu and Kashmir. Even Jammu and Kashmir data is fine, but if you watch closely, we don't have data for the West Bengal. See, West Bengal is one of the important state, as well as West Bengal have a huge population density. So, non-availability of the data like West Bengal is not good for the overall planning and all. And if you see, if you watch closely, these states are performing very poorly. And UP and all, there is a huge farmer backup is there. Okay, so please try to remember, because nowadays the questions in the prelims is not basically the fact, it's actually the applicability of the fact. Okay, so try to see these kind of things. The next one is UN report on Kashmir. See, this came into picture because UN released its first human rights report on the Kashmir, and India called this, that is not true one, fallacious. Okay, and this report is consist of the overall events happened between January 2016 to April 2018. So this report actually covers state of Jammu and Kashmir as well as part of the Kashmir which is occupied by the Pakistan, POK. So it is a kind of a holistic report. What was the finding is there was a huge incidence of human rights violation. That's what UN is telling. And UN is urging the India to ratify the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance and the Convention against the Torture and other cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment of punishment. See, these two conventions is absolutely important because this is proposed by the UN directly to the India and as well as Pakistan. Okay, so please try to by heart this. Okay, this is a pure fact. And also there is a high urge or the push from the UN to repeal the UPSC. We all know UPSC is giving more power to the security forces to enhance the or else to make sure the law and order is there. Okay, so they want to repeal it. In fact, they want to investigate post 2016, that is January 2016 to till now the human right violations happened due to the or the killings happened due to the UPSC. Okay, so obviously India's reaction was very hard and it says it is a huge blow on the integrity and sovereignty of the India. And India says whatever UN collected report is an unverifiable data and it is highly one-sided because UN has not directly collected this data. They collected it through the resources. Okay, so that is the important one. And another thing is it states Azad, whatever it calls Azad Kashmir and Gilgit Balochistan, okay, Gilgit Balochistan, all are belongs to India. And India says that unfortunately UN is calling terrorist groups as a armed groups. This is not fair. And also terrorists as they are calling as leaders. So at the point of where India is striving to make a universal convention or universal law on the terrorism or anti-terrorism in the UN, this is a major blow. Okay, Pakistan response was quite okay because Pakistan asking the UN role to resolve the Kashmir issue, which is always India is opposing because India don't want any third party to come into the Kashmir issue. Okay, so this is regarding the UN report on Kashmir. The next is Central Adaptation Resource Authority. See, Central Adaptation Resource Authority came into news because they prohibited the partners who are actually in the live-in relationship for the adopting a child. Okay, so whoever actually in the live-in relationship, they cannot adopt a child. Okay, they are prospective adopting, actually they are the prospective parent. Okay, see, this CARA actually came into the existence or became a nodal authority for the overall adoptions. They work for the nodal agency for any adoption activity of orphan children or surrendered children. Any adaptation activity will be carried through the CARA. Okay, this came as a nodal agency because India ratified Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption in 1993. This convention came into existence 1993 and it has been ratified in 2003. Again, remember this is important. Okay, so right now we have the CARA prohibited the live-in relationship couple to adopt a child. Okay, the reason they are giving is there is no stable family. The stable family is a very important thing for a adaptation criteria. So we will see there was a adaptation regulations in 2017. Okay, as per this adaptation regulation 2017, a single parent, that means a lady or a male or a female can adopt. Okay, but female can adopt any gender. Male can adopt only boys. At the same time, a couple can adopt also. Okay, when a couple is adopting, consent of both partners, okay, the both of them should be there, and also there should be a stable marriage for 2 years. They should have been married for 2 years, and this is the basic thing for the adoption regulation, and they have to show that they really want to adopt. Okay, so this is the important thing. this prohibition, whatever we said earlier, the prohibition is also applicable for the couples from the foreign country. But one more thing, or the one more lacuna is, if a single parent is adopting a child, okay, if they later on go for a live-in relationship, we don't know what is the implication of this prohibition. Okay, let's say what happened in the live-in relationship and the recent judgments. See, Supreme Court have gave a judgment that live-in relationship is okay. That means if two adults want to live in without getting married, they can do it. That is the recent Supreme Court judgment. Okay, so this means Supreme Court says there is no wrong in the live-in relationship. And if you watch, there is a protection of the women from the Domestic Violence Act 2005. If there is a live-in relationship happening between the male and female, if a domestic violence is happening to the female, she can complain. Okay, so Domestic Violence Act 2005 is also applicable to the live-in relationship. This gives a kind of legitimacy to the live-in relationship. Okay, not a perfect legitimacy, but still a legitimacy, kind of legitimacy. So this is the overall regarding this news. If we see Animal Welfare Board of India, see, this came into news because Animal Welfare Board of India gave directive to all states that they have to save the stray animals from the cruelty. It is not only the responsibility of the cow shelters and animal activists. That is the direct words given by the Animal Welfare Board of India. Usually what will happen is, if there is a stray animals, it will be taken care of cow shelters and the volunteers. So right now, this instruction is giving, or is this notification is giving a kind of responsibility to the state departments also. So who gave this? This instruction is given by Animal Welfare Board of India. So what is Animal Welfare Board of India? This came into existence because of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960. See, this is a statutory body. Okay, and this works under the Ministry of Environment. Please remember, this works under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and the Climate Change. Overall, the board is, the top level board is consists of 28 members. Out of this 28 members, 6 MPs will be there, and out of the 6 MPs, 4 Lok Sabha MPs and 2 Rajya Sabha MPs will be there. And overall term for the board members is 3-year term. Okay, and the headquarters is Balbag. It is in the Haryana. See, previously it was in the Chennai. Okay, very recently they changed this to the Balbag, Haryana. What this Animal Welfare Board of India do is, they take care of giving grants to the animal welfare organizations, and also they will try to implement the laws, whatever comes for the animal welfare. Okay, see, they cannot penalize any organization. Remember, they cannot penalize any organization, but they can file a legal suit against any organization. So this is the major work for the Animal Welfare Board of India. So that's all for the prelims topics. We are getting into editorial mains topics of the day. See, that today's editorial topic is the changing nature of the violence. Okay, this is actually a broad perspective of the overall violence in the India. The theme of this, we can able to say, it is a new era of protest, and what is the impact in the internal security. See, the new era of protest need a broad understanding how it is happening. One of the important thing in the protest is industry versus environment. We all know the recent Thoothukudi Sterlite issue. There was a mass shooting also. Okay, so if you see this is also an environmental problem, Sterlite problem. See, look into the Kanpur issue. Tanneries is there. Goa, there is a iron mining is a major problem. And we all know the king of the environmental problem, Bhopal Grass Strategy, 1984. Okay, so these are the base, or like, if you see, the era is actually mostly concentrating on the industry versus environment. Apart from this industry versus environment, social issues, Dalit issues, there was a huge protest against the Supreme Court order. Dalit issue was there. Okay, apart from this, farmers protest. We all know the farmers protest recently it happened. Okay, this is important thing. So this actually gives the kind of elite versus people problem. Okay, these are the important social issues is coming. And if you see, the nature of the issues is highly complex and need more careful attention to understand itself, because the eruption of violence, even if you see Thoothukudi, 99 days, the protest was very silent protest. There was no violence at all. It's a non-violence protest. But the 100th day, there was a huge violence. Okay, so this actually shows we don't know when it is the violence going to erupt. Okay, so we need a constant understanding of this. And the major problem or the accusation from the government side is agent of provocators. See, this agent of provocators are the major problem where a non-violent protest is turning into a violent protest. This is the major problem or the accusation from the government side on the protesters. Okay, and if you watch closely, majority of the protests are coming as a leaderless movement. It is not based on the single leader. You cannot stop or you cannot talk with a single leader. Okay, and also it is emphasized or overall accepted by the community itself. If you see Thoothukudi protest, it is a majority of the community people are organized or majority of the people came out to the protest. So this gives another different dimension of the overall our protest. Okay, and protesters' suspicion against the government and judiciary is increasing. So this creates or else this nullifies any action by the government and judiciary, any judicial orders. The impact is becoming very less. This is not good for the overall democracy itself. Okay, and age of repressed anger. See, this is a building one. Okay, it was actually suppressed for many years. This is kind of rich versus poor. And one important thing is, this is not only an Indian phenomena, it is actually a universal phenomena. Okay, if you watch US or other Western countries, where people is actually thinking that government is working for the corporates against the poor, even economic activities or else the problem with the banking system, very few took decisions and many was actually under the stress. Okay, these are the important things. And digital wave, the impact of the digital wave gave a huge amount of protesters or huge amount of the inflow of the people towards the protest. Okay, so we have to understand the digital wave also. So what actually police can do, or what are the police reforms or overall internal security shall be done? Understanding the new era. This is the first and foremost thing. We have to accept the complexity of the nature of the problem and we have to understand how it works. When it erupts, we need a detailed study. We don't want another kind of police reform report. That has a very less impact due to the increased complexity of the protest. Okay, so we need to understand how it works. What is the basic problem? What is the source of the problem? Okay, proactive approach. See, rather than waiting for a protest to turn into a violent one, we have to curb it or solve it when the protest is in the non-violent. Okay, this is one of the important things, because people, especially in Thoothukudi, because of the 99-day protest, the police or the government side is thinking that they have everything in the control. So we don't know when the sudden eruption of the violence is going to take place. This is the major thing. Capacity building. Obviously, police resource capacity should be increased to handle this new era of the violence. How to handle the digital propaganda or malicious propaganda, okay, or the wrong propaganda. How to work on this. So how to talk with the leaderless people movement. What are the new innovative measures shall be done? Whether the announcement should be done through the oral public speakers to the people. So these are the important things. So that is for the changing of the nature of the violence. The next one is decongesting our cities. Okay. See, this is actually a theme is based on app-based motor services and the current congestion problems. See, if you see the private transport, in 1981, there were only 5.4 million private vehicles. But if you watch closely right now, it is 210 million. It is a huge increase. 2011, okay, that was a huge increase. Obviously, when the private transport is increasing, air pollution is increasing, space is decreasing, so traffic is increasing, the cost is increasing, urban infrastructure cost is increasing. These are the major problems in the private transport is coming into the picture in a huge level. What actually most or majority important or major level state governments did is they started to increase the public transport. See, the increase in the public transport have a various advantage. The per passenger emission is low. Yes, if 20 people is traveling in a bus, the per passenger emission will be very low and less space. This is important. Less space is there. Less space is utilized. Okay, and obviously infrastructure is little is needed. Pollution is reduced. So only many state governments went for the huge rapid transport system, mass rapid transport system. Let's say metro rails, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi. Okay, though state governments went for those new initiatives, still there is a gap between target and the achievements. That means attracting people from the private transport to the public transport. Why it is happening? The major problem is last mile connectivity. People who own the private transport, they are fine with the last mile connectivity. Okay, they want that sophistication to get into the last mile connectivity, but this is a gap in the public transport. Okay, that is the major problem, as well as huge crowd. If you would have traveled in the Delhi metro at 6 o'clock, you would have known. Okay, it's very hard to get into the compartment itself. Okay, that is one of the major problem. App-based service. See, before we get into the what are the advantage in the app-based service, there's an accusation on the app-based service that because of this app-based service means like Ola, Uber. Okay, because of this app-based service like Ola, there is a reduction in the attractiveness of the public transport. Okay, but this is not true. This is not fully true. Okay, because they have their own advantage. We know Uber and Ola actually share or shared ride is there, correct? So this increase the overall transport pooling or carpooling. Okay, so this is kind of, we have a lot of advantage also in the app-based service, but there is a legal hurdle. In the Motor Vehicle Act, we have only two kind of carriages. One is stage carriages and contract carriages. See, when it is stage carriages, this is a usual thing where people will be picked up from a regular point and they will be dropped in the regular point daily or else in a rotational basis. The contract carriage means it is kind of a one-time affair. Okay, they will be picked up and they will be transferred or transported to some other place. So this app-based service is not coming in the proper categorization of state carriages or the contract carriages. So this should be amended for the better utilization of the app-based service. What shall be the solutions for the city's congestion? One is we can increase the last mile connectivity. That means increasing the hiring vehicles, hiring cycles, or it is also latest initiatives taken by the many metro rails where you can able to hire the e-bikes from the metro itself. Okay, so this will actually help a lot because this will increase the last mile connectivity. So obviously people started to actually choose the public transport and increase the infrastructure of the public transport, better facilities in the public transport and the right timing. If there is a peak timing or peak demand is in the 9 o'clock, you have to run your public transport in the 9 o'clock. These are the important solutions we can able to do. And one more and the last thing is awareness. We have to create awareness to the people. That is the important thing. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching.